The wall is Detroit.
Detroit.
It is invading you with cellular truth. The sail is a grid, it bites. It tastes of Rhine. The Rhine is a tether, the tether is a word. The word is a prayer, it does not know itself. The Rhine is knowledge, it knows the grid of your mouth. Detroit lives inside. It is solid with industry. Smog is the image of the cell, it is billboard cool.
Billboard.
We walk the High Point Casino Rift solid as your teeth. It breeds educated men and women who die at night. They live in the opening of the wall. The wall is their head in the grid of the day. They make love to its image.
They make love.
Its image is fear.
They make love to its image.
They swallow it whole. They float on the surface. They smoke traffic lights and creep into millennium high on necessity. Their memory is a wound with 40-ounce dance sobriety. It is a weapon. There's death on the political grunge of votes. Her art cafe grunge, smelling of cheap flesh and Cadillacs. Communion at 6 p.m., the altar of time. We move like snake oil rhetoric against the grid. Its texture is boxed cheese. Time card rape, it sounds like money. Chance is stuck in the mouth of the city. A holy war of blue team prisons and collages of bullet love. The holy pride of steel. Juggernaut movie-only mesh of jettison nucleus revolution. Storefront misery and little sister's grip. The knowledge of the wall like us is telephone tightrope hustle. Tricks of mythology and canned champs of quick grits and game. Hungry for mess sandwiches of luck. Chasing chance at the gold fin the Coney Island beauty of deep sleep. We wait for light. Amen. The hole in your head is Detroit a stop sign. Movement is skill and fried chance. Fast food prisons of sweat. The grid is rhyme and freeze the Mac money. Anger and rolling your pork joint boxes of meaning gleaned as paychecks. Lip wrap dances of gas spots, vanilla greens, and black muscle mysteries of veins. Requiem for needles. Fried into data brew. Lick at the bone of the grid. Wet with desire. Mickey Mouse country bars, multiple shots of rose falling through the hole of supper to engage. Pedestrian Bible thumping midnight shift screaming jeopardy at the wind. Eyes Rolodex windows of glitter. The way home is scaling a hope. The naked chest of chance, the pork pie slow wit of God. Skin is the coffin slow shaking Monday dice. Aim for the top. The sleep, benediction. Chance is the road to Nirvana. Disc jockey spunk nerves of Sunday, the playground of Jesus. Wet cup messes of five-star hotels, 10-cent orgasm of telemarketing heroes.
Only a dime.
The war roots and techno-themed landscape stage for policies of carcasses. Rusted wine on grid of the day. Images of strangled chance aborted at the mouth. Lucid! I pray to small. Lucid! I pray to small as chance.
Hello, greetings, welcome everyone. Thank you for sharing that beautiful Horizons in Poetry video. Welcome to Horizons in Poetry 2022, which is made possible by the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. I'm one of your hosts, Owalabi. Joined here with Jim Perkinson, who will be speaking in just a moment. Wanted to acknowledge that that opening video was created by Ascended Visions Enterprises, and it features Ron Allen's recording, Merchant of the Open Grid, from his CD, Painted Mind Code. We have a very energetic evening of poetry, and so glad that you were able to make it here tonight.
So yes, hello, Jim Perkinson, alongside Owolabi. Horizons in Poetry, what we're commemorating here, was founded by Ron Allen, Wardell Montgomery, and John Mason in 1982 in the Cass Corridor. This monthly open mic series ran for over 2 decades, hosted alternately by Ron Allen, Sharon Smith Knight, and Trinidad Sanchez. Late last month, Sharon Smith Knight passed away, even as she held the hope to be able to join us in this new iteration of HIP. The Ron Allen, 2 other Cass Corridor icons have also passed this year, Rico Africa and Chris Jazik. And in remembering them, we will take a moment of silence. So we're thankful for all of our ancestral influences and those who have generated such amazing creativity that all of us have benefited from in this city. The Ron Allen Project is a multimedia exhibit reflecting the work and art of poet, playwright, sobriety mentor, and Dharma priest Ron Bodhidharma Allen during the years he resided in Detroit's Cass Corridor. This exhibit will go up in the fall of 2023 at Detroit's Hannan Center. The grant team who wrote the final submission to the Knight Foundation are Carla Harriman, John Jackery, myself, Richard Reeves, and Ruby Woods.
We wanted to start off this event before our featured reader, Dr. Sandra Staton-Taiwo. Jim and I are going to share some of our poems and kind of open the space. A little bit later, there's going to be an open mic. So if anyone is moved, if anyone wants to read a poem, read some of their own poems, you can put in the chat the word open and put your name in the chat. And we would love to all be in conversation of poetry together. I am Owolabi, and I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be one of the hosts for this series. I'm a poet, I'm a MC, I'm an organizer, working closely with environmental justice and disability justice and the uplift of Detroit. And I have a few poems that I would like to share. Is that all right? Thank you. Thank you. Let me find them. They're on my computer. Let me get to the right place. Okay. Last month, 2 months ago, I shared a sestina. A sestina is a poetry form with 6-line stanzas in which there are 6 words that repeat throughout the poem at the ends of the lines, dancing and weaving. And it's very fascinating to me how the words that you choose end up guiding the direction of the poem. I've been writing a series of sestinas that touch on topics in and near disability justice. So I'm happy to share one with you today. Here we have the words rate, murder, teeth, heart, brain, and court. And I share with you my first poem, a sestina in rented apartment. The mice in the building charge premium rates. They argue with roaches about who will murder me. Oh, these mice with big white teeth boast that they may slowly nibble my kidney and heart. The northern roaches say they will crawl into my brain and make me forget. They go to court to hire impartial arbiter. The fruit fly's court is ritual, supernatural success rates, centuries hunger for the creations of my brain. They cannot wait to see me pale, murdered. As maggots discuss my fate, I feel my heart rate rise. I glue trap what I can and wear their teeth around my neck. I smile, show my teeth, and put my hand upon that book of court. They order me to swear with hand on my heart. Fuck these future ass city thieving dick shit rates. The verdict from the flies is handed up, murder. The doctors buzz, come deposit your brain. Me, my only possible reply, fuck a brain. I can't trust roaches with such shiny teeth. They want to take my home when I am murdered. The rats have joined the friends of the court. Here, friends can be had at affordable rates. A kidney, your tears, sobriety, or your heart. When poems scurry across the floor of my heart, Christmas lights laying for show cross my brain. Our children become beggars, asking for the best rates. Trick, treat, rich women pour out bowls of our teeth. If my son refuses, I can be returned to court for negligence. How they charge you when you're murdered in your own apartment. Here, there, signs of murder. Foul play, the detective would chitter to the cameras. His heart was no good. He was a black devil. He failed in our courtship rituals. He misused what we gave him, his brain. We gave him degrees and all he produced was laughing teeth. Please be sure to subscribe and leave a high rating. It takes heart to count the little mouse's teeth. The hidden ones will murder you for ratings. I huddle in my beautiful brain, watching for court-ordered evictions. I'd like to share a couple other poems. I am one that did not know Ron Allen personally in the flesh, but since the last session, I was delighted to be able to read some of his poems, and they inspired a couple of poems. And so I'll share a couple of poems that were written in inspiration of the poems that I read from Ron Scott. The first one came because even his biography, just a short little blurb, even that was poetry. It begins with the sentence, Ron Allen is a cosmic voyeur, peeping into the nature of mystery. And so that was due to the question, who is Ron Allen? And so my second poem, who is LJL? LJL is a wanderer through time in Detroit streets, dodging multi-dimensional attacks on her womanhood. Black by birth, LJL travels through the sphere of the impossible, where textbooks are weaponized against hungry minds, and consent is violated by fertile penises, hidden string theory, and electromagnetic drones. She holds a sign pointing the way towards a dystopian world mind, where oppression controls remotely, and the highest output of quantum education waves. is the violation of ancestral integrity. She remembers it all. LJL mourns for mothers who miss their children, sometimes mutely, always ubiquitous like the blackness of space. Even when the sun, overbearing old man in the sky, she remembers it all. She is a writer. She was a writer. She will be a writer, pouring pain into containers of text. My sibling, my sibling, my sibling. Join me in calling her forward, bringing her back home to the creative village of safety and self.
Yeah, man.
And my third, thank you. Thank you for the fingers. Not just the middle fingers, but including the other fingers. I appreciate that. My third poem, this line that Ron Allen wrote, "Inside of our tower of mutated freedom," caught my attention. And I wrote this poem, a love poem of sorts, I guess you could say. And this poem is called Making Art. It was beautiful to read and to get the inspiration. It's beautiful to see that Horizons in Poetry is taking not just the inspiration of Ron Allen as an individual, but also that creative. It was beautiful to learn about the creative community that Ruby and Jim and others, were a part of. And so I enjoyed being able to share how I was inspired by this man who I did not get a chance to meet. Making art. Honey, we are winter wishing summer back. A shy peek through jeans, zipper, a green shoot, reaching up to spring, again, timid in your mouth, echoes of atomic thoughts, nuclear families, reminding, explosions, abandonment, complaining, retreat. Our intellects rub against each other, triggers, pelvic friction, twisted into constellations. When sunrise is rejected, we sleep inside of our tower of mutated freedom. The same bed, halved and quartered, sounds like sawing. And here we are, fully clothed, observers in a gallery of disagreement, lying on top of quilts, texting, tapping, not receiving that which we desire most, wet paint, curation, and opening.
Yeah.
And with that, I pass it to my partner in crime, my crime and partner for the evening. Jim, take it away.
Yeah, I'm honored to be outlawed with you.
Let's get it.
Yeah, so I will start with a piece. I first met Ron in 1997, and in addition to reading at Horizons in Poetry, which met at the Commons in Unitarian Universalist Church, typically on a Sunday evening or Sunday late afternoon. There also was a special Saturday night service for a number of years at Central United Methodist Church downtown. And Ron and Aurora Harris, myself, Wardell Montgomery, and a number of other poets would read with backup of some of the top jazz artists in the city. And that was just an amazing experience. One of whom is Beans Bowles, who would be there blowing behind us. So we'd start reading and they'd just pick up and carry us. So this is a piece called, and it also reflects Ron's influence on me. It's called Saturday Night at Central. A sound like a single scraped wire, screaming crimson pain in the lines, squirming like word marks on my paper, trying to let Albert Eiler mount my head on a sweaty Saturday at Central in September, and then the lip behind me rips and the window shatters and the brain uncoils like a snake on the loose and the rattle rocks, and the thighs speak crocodile, and the ears laugh gujube, and the teeth arc with thunder, and the toes curl with unhurled coconuts, and voodoo crawls the spine, and the skull speaks tongues of purple rope, and the bones clap 6 lightning hits like frightened hail, and fingers run rivers, and eyes drip blue ice, and vision is the horizon of black volcanoes, and buffalo stomp 1,000 strong beat in heat, and the soup scalds, and the TV implodes, and the orgasms, and the nose inhales white Jupiters, and the vein is pouring forth scarlet babies, and the chest is a rifle barrel smoking bullets for fun, and the knees knock trees down, and the mud brown batter fried burn of hunger, steel strut flight through ozone holes of hallelujah grease. God Almighty squeaks, and squeals of fried bacon storms, and pops of Glock shooting ideas for lunch, and crunches of foot broken shards of fallen Plutos, and criminal moments of release, and jubilation sprays of milk spirits from the mouth of Nganga man, and Tanganyikan takeovers of presidential palaces, and big butted ancestors inside of hillbilly hangovers, dreaming the middle passage going backwards, and new millenniums, and new countries, and dying corporations, and congressional filibusters fomenting riot parties, and tongues in cheeks, and groins on groins, and grins on grimaces, and mamas on papas on pepper salt sugar piles of copulating grains of everything. Onions peeling themselves down to nothing but universal truth, carrots stabbing bleeding apples red, bananas like an overflowing head of dreadlock libation straight from the paradise of yellow, blue, black, brown, bo diddly biscuits, and body parts trying for a new record of continuous rubbing, submarine slopes of intention growing orchids on the breath, breathing planets in long distance kisses, birth pangs of pockmarked faces deciding a new definition of beauty, lepers laughing, lips falling off, and trips of kangaroo trials in reverse of prison, and prisons opening inside of brains like budding lotuses, and sentences like severed spines, and bars like bent ribs, and tight coffin lids like taut conga heads quivering in untaught languages, and this language as the lust of free language from language, and words upon words upon words, doing words to words like a failed apparition of God who lives everywhere except in words. And then I turned around and it was just Beans blowing his pipe. Next one, my wife is a Filipina that I met at the age of 50, and we've been in a tight embrace and dance full of spice and laughter and struggle ever since. Had to learn a lot about US-Filipino relations and the colonial history there, because it's just throbbing between us whenever we lay down in bed together. And she has been just the greatest gift of my life. Just discovered that she's got some serious challenges with her eyes just the last couple of days with macula that we're dealing with. So I wanted to read one for her. I write poems for her at all the significant anniversary dates. This was on her birthday last year, called You, My Green, My Water. The clock hand ticks, the planet rocks. We think we have time locked in a watch, but indeed, watching is what we now must relearn, for the wild one has her own tick-tock knock at the door. And now as the waters roar, as the fire roars, as the spore of the corona mutate more and more and more, you and me stand at the corner of our little table and flee, and there is nowhere I would rather be. Even as our knees now lock and buckle, as the trees break down, go back to the ground, crying uncle before the heat and the hurt and the incomprehension. You sit laid back on my lap, and we watch the damnation of the dams, the consternation of the clams, the desecration of the land in Kalinga as the Chico River is strangled listless, and we squirm from the distance, my people imposed by fisticuffs and bombs and investments. And now the mining grows, and the pining grows, and the crime grows, and the eyes overflow like Frodo and Sam watching the lava flow at the end of all things, not knowing the eagles will go on mission to sow a different future. And in all the dread and in all the incredulity at the savagery unleashed, the wild daughter of the grandmother of all our midnights, yet breathing while fighting for life and redress, I weep with gratitude, undone by the latitude of blessing still found in your embrace, even as you lace the dark with a soft, regular chortle, snoring like the gentle patter of wave on beach. And I know the green sinew of her winding grace, even cut with the bite of 10,000 drill bit slices, seeking zinc and chromite in the heights of Luzon's round lushness. That gift of quivering kindness, refusing not to caress us with air and water and bananas, even from this exploded dispersal of Magellan's cruel regime of dominion, that great lithe woman of leaf and root and humming dream, of whispered, keening questions of magnificence, still grins in your face every morning when you wake and stretch and begin kvetching about forgotten fragments of the other world stream of meaning and riddles. Yes, my other side riddle is the daylight delight and kettle of tongue-speaking burbles and metal that is you. You are that wild one come close and fierce and gentle as an after-lunch kiss of thank you. So indeed, 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 I touch your lips and thank you. My baby, my cradle, my crone, my home. And one last one here. We'll do a short one, although that'll probably leave us with a moment or two of extra time, but we'll see. This is just called Beginning. God and the devil hooked up on social media recently, and still caught in a colonial time warp, decided to start everything over again by meeting in the church parking lot to shoot craps to decide who would create whom. And despite his omnipotence, God kept rolling ones, but putting his most articulate doctrinal spin to work, claimed 1 + 1 is 3 to try to get a little advantage. But the devil rolled 2 2s, laughed, danced off his disguise, shapeshifted into coyote and bull elk and suharo and iron, and said, 2 + 2 is 13 blessings, just like you and me, land and sea, night and day, sky and earth, corn and lightning, raven and sapling, and winners and losers becoming losers and winners. 2 is the truth, even of us. But God turned pink with disbelief, said, don't give me that Potawatomi gift economy crap, became a white man, started killing everything in sight until he finally killed himself. And then the earth said to the sun, burn the flesh off so we can gather all the relatives, gamble with the bones, and see what comes next. All right. So according to the time schedule, we still got 4 minutes left. You got another one you want to do, Walabi?
Do I have another one I want to do? If you give me 30 seconds, I will have another one to do. Do you have enough? Do you have anything loaded up?
I mean, I got stuff here, but let me see. I could do one if you don't have one.
Go for it. You do one and I'll see what happens after that.
All right, I'll do it. This is not too big a one. Another Ron inspired one called Rhetorically Speaking. The bear growls, the crow calls, the mountain panther speaks, eye shaft of amber shriek, the cobra coils in mantra of illumination. I hear none of these. I know not the old sounds. I know urge of animal tongue only in the bottom of my feet, like a summons to walk barefoot or backwards. The street glistens, heat shards of shrill burn, quartz flakes of mountain cut, like a slow erosion of human umbilical, frozen in flints of original asphalt. The city is night without an owl, is midnight of the soul, like a blue streak of cafe mumble. I am ear of dead buffalo, muted in the horn of 1,000 lost opportunities, running cold talk like aboriginal dream rivers beneath the concrete gutter. But this could be guttural incubation of flow, ground sound of ancestral treaty talk, breaking ear with the hymn of imagination. This could be an absentee note of shaman flute, flying like osprey over the lithic ocean. It could be invisible scent of primordial jam time, pouring like vibration from the vagina of idea. It could be cobalt orchestra of pit vipers and gangbangers sharing heat around a live coal, just waiting for you to blow on it. It could be the word of many upmanship, looking for a lip to dance and wondering if yours is available. It could be an open gullet letting you out the door. It could be you if you haven't spoken yourself yet. It could be 57 colors of addition shimmering like a cloud of flamingo in the dawn of Tanganyika. It could be a leap of leopard trying to change his spots into culture. Or it could just be me still trying to learn that deafness is only the special effect of advertising and not the state of human nature.
Whew. Family time. Is my mic on? Is my mic on? Family time. In the smothering summer, mama walking into my room without legs, without wrists or hands for holding, no words. She tells without a drop of sweat. She kisses and encourages. My wife and little son remain asleep beneath cooling breeze. She's with the woman who pulls the morning sun along dew-soaked wire. My ageless brother smiling, without a face for bullets to hide themselves inside. Old stars whose name we learn from hugging books, family rituals, elder songs. Who left this week, this month, this season, walked out the door into the shimmering heat, faded from vision, our half-seeing faces full of peace and tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Jim and I are very happy to do two things. First is to reiterate the invitation for anyone who wants to get on the open mic. If you've caught the poetry bug, if the poetry bug is in you, if it's been in you, and you would like to share something, even if you have a poetry book you've been reading, you just want to read a poem out loud, put your name in the chat with the word open, and we will do that. But before we do, I have an introduction that I'm delighted to share, to welcome our featured artist, our featured writer, who is Dr. Sandra Staton-Taiwo. Dr. Sandra Staton-Taiwo earned a doctorate in African American literature from Howard University in 2001. She has taught at several colleges, including Penn State York, Gettysburg College, Alabama State University. She taught courses in English composition, Black American literature, poetry, Harlem Renaissance, Black aesthetics, African American studies, and a seminar on W.E.B. Du Bois. Publications include essays about faculty of color, W.E.B. Du Bois literature, and Langston Hughes poetry. Now current resident of Montgomery, Alabama, which is about 30 miles from Lowndes County. She's developing a manuscript surrounding Du Bois' 1906 sociological input into Lowndes County. Sociological input that, after it was strategically destroyed, Du Bois transformed into literary output in his first novel, The Quest of the Silver Fleece. Dr. Staton-Taiwo's book, Broad Sympathies in a Narrow World, The Legacy of W.E.B. Du Bois. Let's say that first part again. Broad Sympathies in a Narrow World is a collection of poems that reflect her exploration and engagement with Du Bois' personal and political lives. She teaches high school presently at Park Crossing, where the art of teaching English is more valued and mandatory. Please welcome, electronically, spiritually, and in all the other types of ways you can, Dr. Sandra Staton-Taiwo.
Well, greetings from Montgomery, Alabama. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a pleasure to be part of this great celebration of poetry. I thank you, and I've enjoyed your wordplay there. So I have a little introduction that kind of takes me down the road of poetry for me, because every degree that I earned was because I love poetry so much. So I want to just read that and then input some poems, and I believe that's a format. And if you need to interrupt me at any point in time, please do. But this is Muriel Rukeyser, a radical feminist and poet who mentored writers such as Alice Walker and Adrienne Rich, gave the following advice: breathe in experience, breathe out poetry. As I progress along this poetic journey called life, I discovered this statement to ring more and more natural. Even Friedrich Nietzsche experienced the detrimental effects of breathing out experiences taken in. He famously stated that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. However, such strength comes from experience processed, not experiences repressed. What didn't kill Nietzsche made him crazy. And at the tender age of 45, merely 20 years after becoming the youngest chair of philology at the University of Basel, Nietzsche experienced the very madness that he wrote of in a poem, Parable of the Madman. In his poem, Nietzsche wrote the following: "Do we not feel the breath of empty space? Has it not become colder? Is not night continually closing in on us? Do we not need to light lanterns in the morning? Do we hear nothing as yet of the noise of the grave diggers who are burying God? Do we smell nothing as yet of the divine composition? Gods too decompose. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him." Fortunately for Nietzsche, the prayers of his Lutheran family may have petitioned God not to kill Nietzsche, especially the prayers of Nietzsche's father, who was the town Lutheran minister, a father who named his son after the very one who helped him become a minister, the reigning Prussian monarch, Friedrich Wilhelm IV. Nietzsche evidently was the preacher's kid from hell, literally. With his dedication to philology, Nietzsche let words get the best of him by not breathing out the right experiences. Instead of celebrating experience, he questioned experience and based his truth on perspective, on the perspective of a finite being with a limited view. Nietzsche wrote of the here and now, not of eternal life. Nietzsche assumed that God, and not the old languages that he studied, was dead. Though I know very little of Nietzsche, I know much more of the God he claimed was dead. And this God breathes life into my sanity, much like the God who breathed life into Adam. My poetry, and especially my collection on the legacy of Du Bois, includes this experience. The first poem in the collection addresses the death of Du Bois' son, his firstborn, and speaks of Du Bois' questioning of the afterlife in his Souls of Black Folk chapter of the passing of the firstborn. This would be the first poem in my collection, and it kind of addresses that. So I'm going to read that first poem of addressing what Du Bois said about if there be a there, you know, of the passing. Unnatural, and babies pitter patter to paradise beyond parenting. So still he be, and he be there. Nothing natural when time escapes, not dead, but escaped. Before the sands fall or eulogy calls to report a past that lasts, there be a there, naturally, lest sanity pitter patter to paradise with thee. My exploration of experience intends to find a better end, not an end like Nietzsche, which included career burnout and failing health. A massive stroke years after retiring from the position of chair of philology and years after his profuse writing, after pursuing his version of truth, pursuit which took a toll on his health and may have contributed to his stroke. Towards the end of his life, Nietzsche lived a limited life after losing his mental faculties and after having to live with his mother and then his sister. Nietzsche, of all people, needed God to be alive, and so do I. Sometimes I find a little Nietzsche in myself, especially when I reflect on the journey that brought me to the collection of poetry that finally won the Naomi Long Magic Poetry Award. I have been trying for 15 years to secure the win for the Naomi Long Magic Poetry Contest. I even attempted to enter when the deadline had changed from the end of March to the beginning of March, and I missed the deadline because I didn't read the fine print. After years of entering and not winning, Naomi Long Magic herself suggested I read her creative workbook, A Student's Guide to Creative Writing. I have learned, however, that timing means everything, and no effort to create is ever wasted. It's conserved like the laws of thermodynamics, that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but rather transferred from one form to another. I actually heard that bit of science in a recent sermon, and I am happy to apply it to poetry. Out of my rejected first submission, a poem in that first attempt, but revised, was quoted in the blurb for the book finally published. Haki Madabuti quoted it, a poem listed on page 90 in the section called Drama. And this is that first section when I was writing about victory and victimization and just myself. So I'm going to read that poem that Haki Madabuti quotes on the back of the book. It's called, I had to put notes in this. Myself. I celebrate the mountains of myself, their tops unsettling to see, provoking me an aim that sends me soaring like a bird for the horizon. I celebrate the seed trees of myself that grow and sow and grow again, sending my heart yearning for fertile ground of living. I celebrate the keyboards of myself that tap from single units, new impressions, known before shown and ready for release, like still wet oil on canvas. And that was from the first collection. And I don't know if I skipped a page here or something, because I don't remember talking about that first collection, that it was about me, myself, and I, and didn't win. So after the submission of that first collection, my dad died months later, and I celebrated his transition by attending the Lotus Press 10th anniversary celebrations and created an entire book inspired by my father's life, written in a year. The poems were so horrid that the comment I received, I believe, from the then editor Constance Withers, was that I should attempt to submit single poems before submitting an entire collection. I called the book Basis for the Living, and one of the signature poems in that early collection had been called Buffalo Soldier, a poem dedicated to my father and published in the actual collection that won the contest. A poem that was edited and polished, of course. That poem is found on page 33 of the collection, and I will be back. This was dedicated. I wrote this after my dad died. My dad was he meant a lot to me because my mom died when I was a teenager, and I didn't really know my dad, really. I mean, I knew he was my dad. He lived in the house, but I was really more close to my mom. But then when my dad died, I had to know him better, and I was impressed by his determination and his strong faith. So this is called Buffalo Soldier, James Ray Sr. You were my Buffalo Soldier from this other century, born 76 years after the first one stopped the war-torn riding. I smile when I think of you and the memories you bequeathed, named for sacredness. You fought in the one war that actually supported you. You marched behind buffers and waxed the scuff off floors. I remember how you showed me how to make them go away. You take them up the very same way that you put them down, you'd say. The rubber sole of the shoe that left its mark, and take it right back up again. And then you showed me how. And I watched the mark disappear like lemonade on a hot summer day. You stood firm in your convictions and helped posterity reach the dreams that you yourself had dreamed or had never dreamed. With your head held high, you fought the fight worth fighting and came back home with many bestowed honors for being a strong Black man who earned a living by any means necessary. You were much too proud to sit and just do nothing. Through snow, you marched to get to work. Your dreams were bigger than you, for you knew that after you were gone, your work would still live on. Your deeds would have been done, but the battles that you fought and won would someday make your future. Determination was your gun, persistence your horse as you galloped and protected yours. And I wanted to, in the same section, I have this divided into different sections. I think this is the section called, maybe it's history. Yeah, history. I have 9 sections for the 9 decades of Du Bois' life. And then the editor at the time, she had this great idea to give a section of the poem. And the section she has for history is Your Drumbeat Lives Again. And this is called To Fiery Du Bois, who in the midst of a war against those who shot when they didn't see the whites of their eyes, wrote about the soul suppressed in ways his eyes were trained to see, to train those who were blinded by a lie. To you who died before the march and paced your own determined march to the beat of a different drum, to fight a present that confined your army to a past. To you who bound the past and seized the future with the drumbeat of your pen, your drumbeat lives again. And I like the history part because, of course, Du Bois was a historian. So here's another one. I was a teacher twice. I was a teacher in the beginning of my career, and I would watch little Black boys get kicked out of school. So I wanted to write a poem. This is an early poem about all of the great Black men who were role models for these young men. Is there a question? Let's see. Echo. This is called Black Men. Black man, listen to the drums of your past, beating out your name, calling out your name, you Black man, for any of many a tribe of Ghana or Mali or Songhai, of people who value the family, nomadic, agricultural, full of body, full of soul, full of sense and spiritual. First in much, you stood alone, using iron when others used stone. Full of dreams and visions, you, from Vassar and Addicts and Banneker, Wells Brown, Carver and Dr. Drew, Bessie and Turner and Walker's Appeal, William Nail and William Seal, Fiery Du Bois and Calm Booker T, Militant Garnett and Marcus Garvey, Johnson and Baldwin and Wright and Hughes, writing the rights and lighting the fuse, Adams, Cole and Mandela, McNair, X, Malik, and all who were there, Benjamin Davis, Douglas Hall, Cuffey, Farmer, King, and all, to name a few, like you, Black man, who graced the world with royalty, crossed the world to slavery, taught the world to be set free, saw victory, sees victory, will see victory. That's the section. It has other points, but that's a section on history because Du Bois, he did do history and sociology. That was new at the time. So that one poem, Black Man, no, Buffalo Soldier came out of that collection that was rejected because the poems were written so quickly and hastily that most of them didn't make sense. But I wanted to pay tribute to my dad after he died. After returning to the collection of cycles of myself, I continued to enter and not win, and then decided to compile yet another collection, but one that branched out to include my people and not just myself. I called it Afrocentric Butterflies, and it too survived through the final collection, a poem found on page 89 of the published collection. I will look at that poem that was a representative of that other collection that never won. This is on page 89, and I believe that's also probably in the section on history. This is right before the other poem I read. Afrocentric butterflies, fields of dreams, till to bloom for butterflies, escape cocoons of circumstance, and nourish caterpillars too low to know the growth of dreams too tough to die. Caterpillars fed on dreams and grew, escaping cocoons to bloom Afrocentrically, for they were made to fly. And as a tribute to Wilson Moses, he was a historian at Penn State when I was there. He wrote Black Folk, no, he didn't write Black Folk Then and Now. Du Bois wrote that, but he wrote the introduction to Black Folk Then and Now. And he noticed something that I noticed, that Du Bois wrote a lot of books, but he also recycled a lot of what he wrote. You will see chapters at a time recycled and used again. And he said that he borrowed, what's the word? Copiously from the Negro when he wrote Black Folk Then and Now. So I wrote this poem addressing that, called Forgiven. And you recycle words again and again, never wasting a thought, resurrecting piece after piece, like grandmothers who jellied peels and pickled watermelon rinds. Like you, they knew to use it all, from pickled feet to scrambled brain, squeezing the intestines of hogs despite the stench, wasting not to want not, in a day when days were different. Now all seems commonplace, and we buy hog chitlins in a Piggly Wiggly bucket and pay, assigning fancy names for all, like tripe and souse, like scholars who quote themselves extensively, copiously, with credits acknowledged or not, but forgiven. Timing became everything once I actually started revising poems for the final and published collection. Broad Sympathies in a Narrow World, the legacy of W.E.B. Du Bois. I started the collection in 2011 after I had been denied tenure at a university that bluntly told me that they had hired me to write not poetry, but about Du Bois, because Du Bois was the topic of my dissertation. Once I was denied tenure, of course, I began the collection of poems about Du Bois. After I had been a wife, had become a mother, and could relate to the challenges of a work-life balance, I had been invited to speak about my publication on Du Bois, but I had not yet had a publication on Du Bois. I had been separated after filing for divorce and was at the time pregnant with my second child. Therefore, the first section of the collection, Family Studies, had me identifying with Nina Milan and the daughter as well. I began viewing Du Bois as, yes, an intellectual giant, but also as a human being with flaws that affected his family. I continued to revise the collection annually until in 2016, none of the collections were good enough to win. I almost gave up. but I tried again. I prayed about it and finally asked the Lord, tell me, where am I going wrong? What was I needed? What was needed? And I needed to, each poem was to ensure that each poem gave glory to God as a source and inspiration of all things. So I continued to revise the collection annually until 2016. None of them were collected. I almost missed the announcement. I almost gave up, but I tried again. And in 2017, I almost missed the announcement. My name was mentioned in an email, but I missed the email until I received the text. I am discovering that I am much more of a text person than voicemail or email. Winning the award taught me two things: never give up and never let bad news cloud good news. So I did want to get the section on family, because I think that was one of the biggest things that inspired me, was being a wife and understanding the role of a wife and how frustrating it can be, mother, as a daughter, when you have a father who's very involved in his job. And so this is the first section, and it's called Family Studies. And I already read up the passing about the death of the young boy. And I wrote a lot of them called Feeling Nina Yolande, because I sensed her even more. First, I identified with Du Bois because he was a scholar and he did some of the same things I was interested in doing. But I also identified with Nina Yolande and even her daughter. So this is Little Yolande's Blues. And I wrote this actually at a Sonia Sanchez conference, and she was in the audience, and I just included this, but it says, this is Little Yolanda's Blues. You hurt me as a child, but I ain't a child no more. You hurt me as a child, but I ain't a child no more. Now this is my game, and I'm the one keeping score. And another one for Yolande called Chiasmus. Daddy's daughter dopes, dubbing daughter to daddy's name, reversed, chiasmus, reparated, reparented after wedding daddy, just like their old dad. You've seen how daughter got turned around by dad. Now see how dad gets turned around by daughter. Lifetime spent paying for failing to be he nor thee, left in a void like sacrificial maidens cast into angry volcanoes, trapped inside a cocoon of a lavaless life, failing to explode to flight. Now, when I wrote this, the granddaughter was actually still living. She just, I don't know, you may know, she just passed like a month or two ago. Her name was, the daughter married a Williams. So she named her child Du Bois. So it was opposite, Du Bois Williams. So Du Bois Williams just passed maybe like a month or two ago. But she was the living granddaughter. Or was it, no, the great granddaughter? I'm not sure. Was it Nina, Yolande, and that granddaughter of Du Bois? She just passed. And because Nina actually, the daughter actually liked this jazz player or something, and the father didn't like it. He wanted her to marry this scholar. You probably know that County Cullen. Everybody knew County Cullen was gay, but and Nina, to please her dad, or Yolanda to please her dad, married him anyway. And of course, County went away on a honeymoon with a guy. I don't know, he was on some kind of scholarship. I don't know, but obviously that didn't last, and she remarried, and that was the Williams that she married and named her child Du Bois Williams. I was like, she was always needing to please her dad. So this is one for the wife, Feeling Nina Yolande. And I could do that because I had lost a child between my two kids through miscarriage. It's called Pregnancy Hormones Remained Hovering Like Smoke After a Forest Fire. The ultrasound found a babyless pouch. Fluids flittered like ashes over a furnace cooling down. Decisively, inevitably, I returned to emotional clearings, tears searing sadness into closed casket funerals. The fetus had fallen like a single teardrop, see-through, half fluid-filled bubble, lama-like being floating inside a stagnant bath, eyes on each side of a child, never held in arms, but held like before the passing of his firstborn. A child not allowed to grow full size, but held under a smile for a while until projected memories fell like tears, watering a fetus, uprooted to fragrance that there be a there. So hope, not hopeless, but unhopeful. But the world shall end when I forget. Here too, the little soul leapt like a star that travels in the night. Death proves universal at any stage of living. And another one, I'm not sure what the time, I didn't check the schedule, but I was reading this first section of poems that, Yeah, I think there are like 2 more. So what's the time? I was gonna look at the schedule of, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, looks like about, I don't know, 4 or 5 more minutes. Is
Okay,
that
here's,
right?
yeah, Phil and Neil Yolande. One that was just published in some kind of magazine, because it's a series of haiku about how Neil Yolande and her daughter and the son, they're all buried in Berkshire over that, the gravesite over there by where Du Bois grew up. But Boys, of course, is buried in Ghana, and Shirley's ashes were brought over, and it's nestled in his grave. I thought that was interesting because Yolande is buried with her son and her daughter over in Massachusetts, but Du Bois is buried over in Ghana, Africa, and Shirley's second wife's ashes are brought over. So this is called Neil Yolande's Lament, haiku series. Surely shadow blocked the sunshine I should have sensed, but I tasted first. Our trees bore our fruit. The children proved the best ones. First one plucked away. The second, like me, failed to yield the juice you craved. Girl children, we stayed. While publicly you chastised time for limiting gender blossomings, privately you stopped gardens from overflowing in the home you watched from afar, tended by lectures spoken to all like fertilizer, killing bugs of hope. Expectations pulled like weeds before they all grow. And I learned to know single long stems stand alone, away from gardens, left to last so long, till nourishment ceased to be and leaves fell like tears, dropping over years, watching other planted buds have their pollen sucked, then plucked like me, until the tree called Shirley overshadowed all. I just have one more. It's about me. It's coming from a song. It's called To Nina Yolande, the Found, and the younger Yolande, the Lost. You must not know about me, Beyonce bellowed from the belly, and every female's fellow hears and fears. She's Angela Davis and insurrection, resurrecting a long lost fervor to fight. She's right. Preaching to the masses of broken-hearted misses to stand up and see the light. Mama's been saying it for years. There's more fish in that sea of forgetfulness, of sins begotten and then forgotten. For past cannot be lived again, born again in some reverse revival, recycling hurts that knocked like an unworthy suitor who courts and then aborts the girl who supports the warts of his deadly kiss. Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and Snow White were not right. The prince will not come looking, and if by chance he sees the girl, he'll only see what she lets him see. I am the one I want to see. I find the princess in myself and live. I give myself the right to fight. I won't lie down to wait for him to come to save the day. By the time he values me, I've left. You must not know about me, because I know about myself. You.
Thank you so very much. And we have a note in the chat from Carla Harriman saying, thank you so much for this amazing dialogue of your poetry with Du Bois and all else, including the address to Angela Davis. So thank you so much, Dr. Staton-Taiwo. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And we're gonna go to the open mic, but after that, we're gonna do a Q&A. So if there's questions or dialogue or anything like that that you have, then please, we'll do open mic. So if you would like to add into the open mic, just put the word open with your name. And if you have questions for the Q&A and discussion with Sandra, then hold those for a few more minutes and we'll get into those shortly after that. So let's look at the list. Our first person on the open mic is Kathleen Hunt.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, this is a brief poem. Gotta get my other phone so I'll be able to see it. I am in poetic love with my post-mortem friend. While alive, he would acknowledge my talent and applaud my efforts in between cooking dinner. We would get deluged in 2nd Street rain, and I would dry off eating vanilla Haagen-Dazs. He would label me a confessional poet and come to the hospital post-firebomb, bringing me books of African writers and showing me my literary twin, Anne Sexton. When he traded Detroit for LA, he became a Bodhidharma and led a band called Code Zero to Ron's Blues 9 years ago. This was written in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that poetic journey. Is there anyone else? We have a couple more people on the open mic list. Is there anyone else? Feel free to put your name in the chat and let us know. Now we have someone that just joined in the chat. We're gonna let Nancy Owen Nelson please join us and share some poems.
I believe Ruby Woods had signed up also. And by the way, thank you to Ruby for bringing this to our church's attention. Hi, Jim. Nice to see you from First UU. And I didn't know I was going to do this. And may I call you Sandra? I'm kind of from Alabama, and I'm considering moving back. And so in the course of that, I am exploring my native state, so to speak. And this poem did place with the Alabama Poetry Society 2 or 3 years ago after I went to Africa Town, which I knew nothing about the whole time I was in Alabama. So just very quickly, Zora Neale Hurston did an interview with one of the last slaves from a ship, Clotilda, that landed and then were freed. All of them were freed shortly after the Civil War, and they came back to form their city. And so this is my response. It's called Africa Town. To Kosolo, or Cujo Lewis, last black cargo. This is also a travelogue, a part of a travelogue that I've written. Cujo, I think of you as we drive west toward Mobile past Spanish Fort across the bay. The sky is clear of clouds, water ripples underneath the bridge. Our tires whine as we make the trek toward Africa Town, your home, place of shame, place of courage, survival, where Timothy Mayahor on a bet brought 116 slaves from West Africa, human cargo objects for profit. You were one of them, Cujo, one of those 116 humans caught and sold by an African king of Dahomey, caught and sold for vague insults, for power and honor. I imagine Clotilda, your ship named for a woman who brought her king to God as the white traders brought you to the God of American commerce. It was a vessel of oak, southern yellow pine, and iron fasteners, the vessel that in the stealth of night anchored in this very bay we crossed, delivered its human cargo for selling. Hopeful no one could find the charred remains. Captain Foster lit it afire to hide evidence of the crime, but truth and history will out. Clotilda's charred hulk will be found 10 days from today, where we were traveling, up the river, where Foster made his stealthy journey to hide his deed. Number 2, we steer the car through Mobile traffic to outskirts, where signs of plateau appear on the right. Is this it? I think. Wondering why the name Africa Town wasn't kept. Wondering if I shall feel you and the others who rode in the middle passage, crouched down to 2.5 feet for weeks, until allowed on deck to stretch your limbs, you felt hope in the ocean air you breathe. We arrive at the ancient graveyard filled with old flat stones and newer ones, uneven ground where I walk gingerly so as not to stumble. I can almost hear your words to Hurston when she greeted you. Oh Lord, I know If you call my name, nobody don't call me my name from over the water but you. You always call me Kosolo, just like I be in Africa soil. I wander through the graves, looking for your place. But the stones are numerous, the day is hot and muggy, and I'm so weary, longing to turn back the clock, or at least to imagine you went back home to Africa. Thank you for letting me join you tonight.
Think you're muted, Jim.
Whoa, how'd that happen? I'm muted. Okay, I was just saying thank you for the very thoughtful response, Nancy. Appreciated that very much. Yeah. Yeah, so next up, Ruby Woods, who is the shaker and mover on this project, on keeping Ron's memory and his art alive, pushing over the years since his passing to get this project off the ground in spite of a number of times being turned down. She never gave up and continued to rally some of the rest of us at various points. And then it happened this time around with the grant that we pulled in. So thank you, Ruby. And that's just one expression of who you have been over decades now in the Detroit area as part of Horizons in Poetry and all kinds of creative endeavors. So let's welcome Ruby Woods.
Thank you, Jim. And again, this time I'm like going to say that I didn't expect to read, but I'm going to read 3 poems that I call my mother maiden crone poems. I wrote them at different times. The maiden poem came first. I was invited to a first moon circle for a young lady, and her mother was working quite a lot, and she wanted to do this circle for her daughter, and didn't know really how she wanted it to look, but she wanted to do something. So I just jumped on it, and I made a caftan, and I brought flowers and, you know, sage and candles, and and I wrote this poem, First Truth. Mysteriously, miraculously, it comes. With warmth and sweat and moisture, it comes. It is first truth of woman. Inexplicably, inexorably, it comes. With swelling sensations and the smell of the sea, it comes. It is a key, first key to woman. Secretly, surreptitiously, it comes. With silence and imperceptible use, it comes. It is a passage, first passage into woman. Bleeding from the woundless womb brings the ancient into now, and rhythmical chaos into innocence. The moon enters the maiden's dance, and grandmother is the witness. Becoming, she laughs, she cries, and joins the circle of fertility. Frankly, forthrightly, it comes. With the awesome and glorious power of creation, it comes. It is a right, first right of woman.
Yeah.
And some years after I wrote that, and before I turned 50, I was invited to a overnight, a sleepover for a friend who was turning 50. And I wrote this for her. Now I am crone. I am knowing, I am listening, I am hearing, I am sharing. I am confident and counselor, nursemaid and friend. I am the evidence, the example, something real, something true. I am touching, I am feeling, I am the elixir and the salve. I am nurturing, sustaining, I am strength and mother wit. I am giving, I am wisdom, I am love and I am light. I am the bosom, I am the grandmother, I am the voice of womankind. I am the spinner and the weaver, the sacred, the divine. I am the answer to the questions of the body, of the blood. I reach back into the mother, stretch forth into the daughter. I am ripened and well seasoned. I am able to endure. Come, ask, come take, come see, come feel, come touch, come share, come hear. Come laugh and cry and scream and wail. Come rest, confess, confide. I am the elder. I am the crone. I am the elder. I am the crone. I am the elder. I am the crone. I am vulnerable too.
Yeah. Hmm.
And some years after that,
Hmm.
when I was at a UU church in the area, we had a program and the theme was cycles and seasons, something like that. And so I thought, okay, I have the maiden poem and the crone poem, so I have to write a mother poem. So this is Mother. Changed, changing, growing full, carrying the immensity of the earth, swelling, stretching across the abyss of knowing, accepting spirit, transporting soul substance, enduring the breadth and width of tenderness, experiencing the mystic thrill of patience, breaking in two, splitting wide open the envelope of the cosmos, becoming the blood and flesh and milk of all nations, embracing the breath, the creation, Sophia, again and again, bearing down with exuberance, screaming names from the wall of eternity, answering the gentle whisper of the goddess, soothing the angst and fear of separation, offering the breast of love and supplication, with open hands, receiving the charge of new life.
Yeah. Rich stuff. Deep long.
Thank you.
Yeah. We got anybody else in the lineup?
No one else in the lineup, but before we get into the question and answer, the Q&A, the conversation, one more chance. If anybody would like to throw the hat on the chat.
Maybe we should just start appointing people, Owolabi. Designate folk.
We'll do it voluntarily. We'll do it voluntarily. Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much. Seems a couple people are, have left and are sending their greetings and their appreciation to Dr. Staton-Taiwo in the chat. So thank you all so much. Oh, Autumn Keynes. Okay. We do have another person.
Oh, okay, good.
Keep your
Autumn.
questions and your conversation. Keep them. Autumn has been supporting with the tech and with the electronics for this series. And now is offering some creativity. So take it away, Autumn.
I figured, what the heck, you know, we still got a little bit of time for this. And actually I did write a poem. It's gonna be the first poem that I've ever published. It isn't published yet, so this is an unpublished poem. Most of my poetry is usually just for myself. But I had an opportunity, one of the, so I'm an instructional designer, and one of the more creative journals was open to poetry, and I thought this could be an interesting way to reflect on some of my work as an instructional designer, which is kind of a fraught field. If you don't know, the field of instructional design was created out of the military, so there's some militarization kind of themes in this, and yeah. I thought that maybe I would share it with you all today. I would love any feedback that anybody has offline, because like I said, it's kind of a new endeavor for me. Instructional design, born of militarization, systemic systems, engineered acquisition, welcoming of technology, another weapon. If it wasn't for the humanness, it would be all so orderly, so refined. What even is an instructional designer? Student, teacher, we know these archetypes, but what is this third entity, this interloper, on how we come to know? You may be told that it is all wrapped up in knowing what, maybe knowing how, and too often not so much in knowing how to know. What even is content? Remember, remember, remember. Remember till you realize the value of forgetting just to remember again. So, as it happens, I am an instructional designer here at the threshold, all in between, armed with the munitions, outcomes, objectives, and goals, behaviorists, constructivists, constructionists, connectivists, LMS, VLE, LTI, all the next generation innovation acronyms and buzzwords. You should see me iterate. But something is off in all these theories and tools. When we analyze these systems, we often find horrible things, unintended. Let's look at who benefits. When we slow down, when we think about those who are left out, when we imagine something different than just the stated objectives, when we scrutinize the tool, be that the theory or the technology, and use our voices to challenge flawed systems, are we doing the work? I think so, because what even is an instructional designer if not human?
I like that.
Thank you.
Some good alliteration going in there too. So, yeah. Yeah, keep reading, Autumn.
Thank you.
It's been a beautiful mix, a beautiful span that's taken us all throughout the lifespan. And as Dr. Staton-Taiwo said, I don't know if I quoted exactly, but breathing in our experience and breathing out all sorts of different poetry, you know, that comes from hearts and experiences and lessons learned and things observed and things shared with others. Very proud to be here in Detroit, very proud to be in this community and hear the span of the experience tonight. And so if anyone has questions, you know what I'm saying, questions for Dr. Staton-Taiwo conversation, comments. We have time to open it up to break theoretical bread and and just have a conversation for a little bit.
I want to say that I enjoyed that poem about Alabama because I had poems on Alabama too. I didn't share them, but I appreciated that because I could relate writing poems about Alabama because that's quite a place. Even Langston Hughes did that, you know, when he talked about I'm gonna write me some music about daybreak in Alabama. You know, Alabama is there, I think, rich with material to be written.
May I interject?
Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to meet Sandra for many reasons, because as you can see, I'm doing some exploration. It's soulful. It's not just geographic. It's the soul of what's there, what I missed when I lived there, what I might now discover about that history. And so I just wanted to express appreciation for Sandra for this event tonight and for your allowing me to read my poem, because it means a great deal. So.
I went to Alabama once years ago when my daughter, who is now 29, was an infant, and I went to a rainbow gathering in the National Forest. And the main thing I remember about Alabama is that it was hot, whether it was like 2 in the morning, 2 or 2 in the afternoon. It was so hot, and this is very rustic, you know. So and I was doing cloth diapers. I could wash them and lay them out in the grass, and they would be dry in 10 minutes. It was wild. So that's what I recall about Alabama, but it was kind of like you know, we were focused, you know, we drove to the National Forest and then we drove out of there.
I can see it now, a state motto, the state of sun-dried diapers.
Yeah. I refused to stay here in the summer. The first 2 years I was here, I just had it's a special kind of heat. You know, I don't know if it's the humidity. It's just
Yes.
I couldn't take it, but you know, now you just learn to get under air conditioning and grin and bear it.
Nancy, just speak right up. I think we have small enough numbers if you, but you're muted.
I just wanted to add to that. Yeah, first of all, the humidity will wilt you in 5 minutes. And it does depend. Montgomery is a lot further south than where I was thinking of going, but nonetheless, I had many steamy summers there when we would return to see my grandparents. And there is so much rich history that I think Sandra is right, that goes out, how do I put it? There's beauty there in spite of the history of the civil rights history and even the politics. I shouldn't say that too loud, but the politics is just very painful. But nonetheless, there's beauty. So.
I would just throw in Du Bois was crucial to my own work on race in my dissertation and my first couple of books. A whole chapter in the first book on him, particularly on his Souls of Black Folk and Souls of White Folk from his Darkwater writings. And it's, you know, it's part of his genius, I think, to not be beholden just to the academy, to be able to talk about soul life as a major theme, and then to write in such a way that's lyrical and poetical, uncontainable. But in his most famous phrase, double consciousness, in the section in the first chapter of Souls of Black Folk, especially intrigued with his talking about, in his words, the Negro as a sort of seventh son, born with a veil and gifted with second sight. My understanding is that the born with a veil language was really born with a caul, C-A-U-L. Are you familiar with that? The kind of amniotic sac piece that is stuck on the eyeballs of some newborns. That's an indication they are going to be gifted with shamanic insight, and just his ability to be himself, informed by folk culture and, you know, the vernacular expressions of people, and the rich soul life was part of his genius for me.
I wanted to ask you, Dr. Staton-Taiwo, the book is this a book is in process, or is it published about Du Bois?
Oh no, it came out in 2018, 2017. It's Wayne State University Press has it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the complete title is?
Broad Sympathies. And I thought I had mentioned, I must have had a different, because I did this on what I was reading, but I was saying that I got the title inspired by Nikki Giovanni. She wrote a book of poetry called Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day. So, and he mentions broad sympathies. So I put broad sympathies in a narrow world. So, but yeah, it's been out for a minute.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And I put a link in the chat so you can see that too, if you can get to the chat, from Wayne State University Press.
Yeah, I was just about to do that, so that's good. Malika, is that the way your name is pronounced? Malika? I'm so happy that you joined.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Did you come the first night as well? Did you join us the first time?
Yes, I did.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I will let folks know we're looking forward to having Malika later this year.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
You're an artist too, right? Malika, favorite artist?
Yes, I'm artist and writer. Correct.
Yeah, I remember. I think I have a book with your I can see the picture, but I see with your. I think you did the one for Joanne Gavin. And
yes.
Yeah. I've been in school as an art major, so I'm always fascinated by people who stick with art because it takes patience. Yes.
Well, I certainly, Dr. Staton-Taiwo, I'm going to get your book because you were speaking quite quickly.
Oh, sorry about that.
And so I was hearing and grasping, but I felt like, okay, I want to like savor those words. So I'm going to get your book.
Thank you, and I apologize for my lighting and my sound.
Oh yeah, there was some, at least for my receiver, it was coming in and out a bit. It maybe that wasn't for everybody though.
Now, I was having issues even with the internet because I haven't switched the internet over to where I moved. So I'm sort of in my old space, and I did not want to try something new. I just stuck with the old. So
I was trying to grasp, is it written as prose poetry or more as stanzas? I was trying to get that from your reading, like from following you, was it prose poetry or is it written more like different stanzas?
It's a mixture, a little, mostly unrhymed, because my beginning poems were all rhymed, the first collection that I had kept getting rejected, everything was rhyming, but it's a mixture. I had a series, I think I read a series of haiku poetry, and there was one here that was a sonnet. I didn't read it. It's a mixture of different types of poems. More not quite free verse, but more closer to free verse.
Okay.
Dr. Staton-Taiwo, the one thing that I want to uplift that really got me thinking, and I think that it kind of shows how you kind of talked about how you didn't fit in a box that they were trying to put you in terms of the university. In terms of Du Bois, you didn't just look at his writing, you really engaged with his life, his family, the different dynamics of his family, and then how that related to the writing. That was very inspirational. I don't know how much I've ever seen anything like that. And then even comparing, you talked about how you felt as well as imagining and envisioning how they felt. And so I really like that, not just treating him as an intellect, but developing a relationship and showing these different relationships.
Yeah, fortunately, Du Bois, he has so many letters, and he saved so much that we can get into. Like and Levering Lewis, who was able to, especially that second volume is what really helped me, because that second volume of the biography of Du Bois really delved into the personal life of Du Bois. I mean, really personal. So,
is that the book that's like 3 inches wide?
Yeah, the second one, because they want to poster for both, and I avoided it. It's funny though, because I think it came out like 2001 or something, and I was rushing to get through my dissertation because I did not want to have to read that. But when I read it, it was actually that I finished in 2001, and then when I actually read it, I thought, well, this is actually very interesting, So that second part of his life where he was a little feisty.
Even if it's not a question, does anybody else have anything they want to say before we move towards the closure?
I was trying to get the contact information for Nancy Owen Nelson. I gave mine.
Yeah, I just put it in, but I put it into you in the chat. I hope it made it.
Okay. Is that Nelman? Is that
Yes.
Nelman? Okay. Okay.
Not mailman. A lot of people want to make mailman.
I'll copy that.
I was wondering, oh, sorry.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if you would be so kind as to reread the poem about your father.
The Buffalo Soldier?
Yes. Is it too long for you?
No, actually, with the help of the editor, a couple of lines were taken out anyway. So
I like that one. I like to hear it again.
I have a tendency to repeat things, so but it's. I have a long poem. I didn't read that one. That spans pages, but I didn't read any long ones. I will go slower. And can I tell you the story behind that though? Behind the Buffalo Soldier. Yeah, I have a painting of a Buffalo Soldier that I've had in every college classroom. I got that painting I saw the painting before my dad passed. And I promise you, if you saw a picture of my dad, a picture of that Buffalo Soldier and the painting, they look alike. And so one day I was traveling, and right like a couple of weeks before my dad died, and I was in the car, and I went to sleep in a U-Haul because I was just tired. I went to a gas station and I just slept in a U-Haul. And when I went into the gas station, the lady said, well, there's this guy standing. I was almost going to call the police because I don't know what this guy was doing, but it kind of scared the person. And I was like, oh my gosh, I won't do that again. But when I got home, a couple of weeks before my dad died, he said, oh, don't ever go to such and such a stop because I had this dream or something. And this man was bothering you, and then, but I sat it with my gun. And when he said, when he saw me, he left you alone, and it's funny though, because I didn't get a painting before my dad died, but I was like, you know what? I really need to get that painting because it looked like my dad. So I went back to get it. And the lady told me that someone tried to buy it, but they couldn't fit it on the plane, so they brought it back. So I was like, this painting is for me because I promise you that man looks like my dad. So the poem is called "You Are My Buffalo Soldier" based on that painting. So this is it. See, what page did I say it was on? 90. I'll go back to I think it's on page 30. I gotta get the table of contents. Yeah, it's on page 33. For James Ray Sr. You were my buffalo soldier from this other century, born 76 years after the first one stopped the war-torn riding. I smile when I think of you and the memories you bequeathed, named for sacredness. You fought in the one war that actually supported you. You marched behind buffers and waxed the scuff off floors. I remember how you showed me how to make them go away. You take them up the very same way that you put them down, you'd say. The rubber sole of the shoe that left its mark can take it right back up again. And then you showed me how. And I watched the mark disappear like lemonade on a hot summer day. You stood firm in your convictions and helped posterity reach the dreams that you yourself had dreamed or had never dreamed. With your head held high, you fought the fight worth fighting and came back home with many bestowed honors for being a strong Black man who earned a living by any means necessary. You were much too proud to sit and just do nothing. Through snow, you marched to get to work. Your dreams were bigger than you, for you knew that after you were gone, your work would still live on. Your deeds would have been done, but the battles that you fought and won would someday make your future. Determination was your gun, persistence your horse as you galloped and protected what was yours. So I like that rhythm of horses galloping away. But my dad had big dreams, and he was going to be a brick mason. He was going to do a lot of things. But after a while, he started having kids, and he says, you know what? We're living in the South, North Carolina, and that came to a point in time. I just had to get a job to support my family. So he became a custodian, And that was actually a true story where I would follow him around at the hospital. He was a custodian at the hospital. And he would just show me, he actually showed me that. He said, when people leave scuff marks, your shoe can take it back. You can take your shoe and take it right back up again. He showed me how to do it. So that actually happened for real, where he showed me. And he just had practical. He didn't finish high school, but he just had this practical advice. Like when my mom died, he just told me, and I always appreciate him for that. He said, sometimes he says, I'm driving and I just get to the side of the road and I cry, and sometimes you just have to sit to the side of the road and you cry. And he would just have this practical advice where he would just say, just be real, you can't hold it in, because I think tears help you. And so he was just a man who gave practical advice. He wasn't trying to pretend to be somebody he wasn't. He was just saying, if you're hurting, let people know, sit a while and cry. Remind me of that mother to son, sit down for a while, but you get back up and keep. But if you have to sit out for a while and cry, that's okay, but get back up and go again. So
that's wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The powerful lesson.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for sharing some of the stories around the poem too.
Welcome. Thank you for listening.
That was a nice one.
We see the appreciation coming in through the chat. If there's any, I'm gonna pause for another few seconds, for another minute, to see if there's any more questions, comments, or appreciations before I say the closing remarks. Well, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I know we appreciate you all so much. We appreciate all the participants, all the observers, and also you, Dr. Staton-Taiwo, and you too, Ruby, for gathering us here and gathering the energy, inviting, keeping this on the forefront. We're so glad, Dr. Staton-Taiwo, that you could be a part of the series, and so glad that everybody here If you have a calendar and you want to mark this down, we're here every 2 months on the exact same Zoom link. So the next one is Monday, June 27th from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll be joined by Jaquise Armstrong, author of Blues Legacy. She's a storyteller and a member of the performances Black Stories Matter, Every Word Spoken and Alone Together by the TMI Project, which is stories about COVID and quarantine. Her work also has been published in Midnight and Indigo, Stellium, Rising Phoenix Review, Ourselves Black, among others. The 2019 Naomi Long Magic Poetry Award winner. And so we're excited. That date again is Monday, June 27th, 7 to 9 p.m. Also, please check out the book, Broad Sympathies in a Narrow World from Wayne State University Press. Get a copy while you can. And if you aren't able to purchase it, go to your library and tell the library to get their copy. In conclusion, this event is made possible by the John S. and James Knight Foundation. Good night. We're going to close out with a video collage. Peace.
The wall is Detroit. It is invading you with cellular truth. The sail is a grid, it bites. It tastes of rhyme. The rhyme is a tether, the tether is a word. The word is a prayer, it does not know itself. The rhyme is knowledge, it knows the grid of your mouth. Detroit lives inside. It is solid with industry. Smog is the image of the cell, it is billboard cool. We walk the High Point Casino real solid as your teeth. It breeds educated men and women who die at night. They live in the opening of the wall. The wall is their head in the grid of the day. They make love to its image. Its image is fear. They swallow it whole. They float on the surface. They smoke traffic lights and creep into millennium high on necessity. Their memory is a wound with 40-ounce dance sobriety. It is a weapon. There's death on the political grunts of boats. Her art cafe grunts smelling of cheap flesh and Cadillacs. Communion at 6 p.m., the altar of time. We move like snake oil rhetoric against the grid. Its texture is boxed cheese. Time card rape, it sounds like money. Chance is stuck in the mouth of the city. A holy war of blue team prisons and collages of bullet love. The holy pride of steel. Juggernaut movie only mesh of jettison nucleus revolution. Storefront misery and little sister's grip. The knowledge of the wall like us is telephone tightrope hustle. Tricks of mythology and canned champs of quick grits and game. Hungry for mess sandwiches of luck. Chasing chance at the gold fin the Coney Island beauty of deep sleep. We wait for light. Amen. The hole in your head is Detroit a stop sign. Movement is skill and fried chance. Fast food prisons of sweat. The grid is rhyme and freeze the Mac money. Anger and rolling your pork joint boxes of meaning gleaned as paychecks. Lip wrap, dances of gas, spots, vanilla dreams, and black muscle mysteries of veins. Requiem for needles. Fried into data brew. Lick at the bone of the grid. Wet with desire. Mickey Mouse country bars, multiple shots of rose falling through the hole of supper to engage. Pedestrian Bible thumping midnight shift screaming jeopardy at the wind. Eyes Rolodex windows of glitter. The way home is scaling a hope. The naked chest of chance, the pork pie slow wit of God. Skin is the coffin slow shaking Monday dice. Aim for the top. The sleep, benediction. Chance is the road to Nirvana. Disc jockey spunk nerves of Sunday, the playground of Jesus. Wet cup messes of 5-star hotels, 10-cent orgasm of telemarketing heroes. The war roots and techno-themed landscape stage for policies of carcasses. Rusted wine on grid of the day. Images of strangled chance aborted at the mouth. Lucid! I pray to small. Lucid! I pray to small gas chance.